Hello, guys. My name's Jill. I'm a widow who was unlucky enough to lose the love of her life at a very young age. My husband was truly my soulmate and my best friend. After he passed from a sudden illness, I heavily relied on my family for emotional support. My mom and dad were of great help, but my brother Kurt wasn't. Kurt was more interested in the fact that I had inherited $1 million estate from my husband. He was a rich man and left me with a lot of money. I also worked from home and got a decent salary. All in all, I was pretty well off, but that didn't matter to me. I would trade it all to get my husband back. Somehow, my brother wasn't interested in my feelings at all. Kurt had a stepdaughter, Nina, from his wife, Betty. They married 2 years ago and Betty had been living with them. Kurt and Betty used to pester me to take over some of Nina's responsibilities. They said, "Jill, your husband did leave you with a lot of money. Any ideas on what you want to do with it?" "I am least interested in thinking about the money or estate, Betty. For now, I'm trying hard to recover from my husband's death." "Yeah, I understand that, but it sure is a lot of money. You don't even have kids. You should be using it on someone important." "What do you mean, Betty? And why are you so concerned about my money?" "Relax, Jill. I was just having a discussion. You know, you have some family members who could really use some help. Nina has taken a liking to you. You should maybe spend some more time with her." "Yeah, since you don't have a child of your own, it will help you experience a little bit of motherhood. You'll be a great aunt to Nina. Think about it. Why don't I drop her off at your place when you're free?" I was really surprised by what Kurt and Betty were trying to tell me. Even our parents were ashamed of them. They scolded Kurt and Betty for making such weird plans. To be honest, I was extremely mad at my brother for thinking about taking advantage of me when I was still dealing with my husband's death. Plus, I didn't even know Nina that well for them to assume I would take her responsibility. Days passed, but Kurt and Betty never stopped trying to put Nina's responsibility on me. They often asked for money and told me how I should be helping them out more since I don't have children to spend on. I was getting really tired of their behavior. One day, I got so pissed that I told them off. I said, "You need to stop trying to pass on your child to me. Yes, I don't have children, but I am not entitled to taking care of your child." "How can you be so mean, Jill? Nina is your niece, so she is already your family. You should not talk about her that way." "Yes, exactly, Betty. She is my niece and not my child. It's not my responsibility to take care of her. It's yours and Kurt's." "Come on, Jill. You literally have so much money. Why can't you just take some of Nina's responsibilities? We can leave you at your house so that you can feel like her mother." "Listen to me, you two. I am not and never will be Nina's parent. And you two are not entitled to my money just because you have kids. I am not responsible for your parental duties towards your own kids. So don't even bother pressuring me into this." I scolded Betty and Kurt a lot that day, so they went quiet for a while. They also knew that the family was not very pleased with their behavior either. That's why things had been peaceful for some time. That was until Kurt gave us some shocking news. One morning, Kurt told us that Betty had gone missing. Apparently, she was having a mental health crisis and ran off somewhere. Kurt claimed to have informed the cops and they are now looking for Betty. I was very surprised to hear this news. Betty seemed fine to me, so I didn't know what caused her to snap all of a sudden. Anyway, days passed and there was no sign of Betty. Kurt was taking a lot of help from family to take care of Nina, who was still with him. The poor girl was crying and asking for her mother, so the family took turns being with her. She was on summer break and needed a babysitter at all times when Kurt left for work. After managing for a few days, Kurt came to me with a request. He said, "Jill, I was hoping you would help me take care of Nina. She's very young and needs a mother figure right now. I don't know when we can get hold of Betty. Nina has been crying for her mom and I hate to leave her with a babysitter all day. Can you help me out a bit? Sure, Kurt. My heart breaks for poor Nina. God knows where her mom is right now. I can't believe she would abandon her daughter like this. Still, I hope whatever mental health crisis she's dealing with right now gets resolved. That poor girl needs her mother. Until then, I can take care of her. Great then. I'll drop her off whenever I'm at work. She is a good kid and won't disturb you much. I'll collect her back from your house after I leave work. Thank you so much for your help, Jill. Kurt's sudden enthusiasm kind of threw me off a bit. He suspiciously didn't look like someone whose wife was missing and had left a small child. Nina had been a little distressed, but looked fine to me as well. Still, I could see that she was struggling with something, so I decided to help my brother out. No matter what beef I had with Betty, it shouldn't stop me from looking after a small child. Nina started to be around me a lot from then. Kurt dropped her off every day while he was on his way to work. Then he used to pick her up when he was off work. I actually gave him a copy of my house keys to make things easier. Thankfully, Nina settled in with me quite well. She loved being around me and was looking a lot better now. She looked a little weary at times, but it never lasted long. My house was feeling a bit full with her presence. I was fine paying for her meals and toys since I didn't want to put pressure on Kurt. However, I never expected Kurt to turn this into something permanent. One day, he said, "Hey, Jill, I was hoping we could talk about something. So, I see that Nina's really happy with you. When she goes home, she can't stop talking about how great her day was. She really loves you, Jill." I'm happy to know that, Kurt. She is a good child and doesn't give me any trouble. I wonder how a woman like Betty ended up having such a good kid like Nina. Must be because of her father. Who knows? Yeah, maybe she gets that from her dad. Anyway, so I have a few business trips coming up and we still are not close to finding Betty, so I was hoping Nina could be with you full time for now. What? You want me to take in Nina full time? Like you want her to stay here with me? Yes, Jill. Look, you stay alone and have plenty of room here. Nina loves it here and doesn't disturb you. I don't see how it can be a problem. I really need to concentrate on my work and look for Betty. Having Nina around is distracting and I don't have time to pay attention to her. Kurt, you can't just spring this on me. This is ridiculous. Your stepdaughter needs to stay with you. You can't just ship her off to me when things are tough. That's not being a good parent. I know that, Jill. I'm trying to do the best for Nina right now. Please, think about that poor child and keep her. It's only for a short time. Once I get my ducks in a row, I will take her back. You won't have to worry about her anymore. Kurt kept begging and pleading with me to let Nina stay with me. I was pretty annoyed with him, but needed to think about Nina. It was true that she seemed happier with me, but taking her in-house was a big responsibility, so I wasn't sure. Somehow, Kurt involved our parents and extended family who were also pressuring me to take Nina in. They felt bad for the child and for Kurt. After being under immense pressure, I agreed to take Nina in. Kurt seemed to be very happy with this outcome. Slowly, Nina moved into my house and stayed there permanently. I set up one of the spare rooms for her and even added new furniture to accommodate her. Plus, I bought her a lot of toys and clothes. She was happy to be around me and enjoyed being at the house. I was also growing close to her. Nina considered me as one of her parents. That's why it was easy for her to tell me the truth about Kurt and Betty. Yes, it was Nina who exposed the horrible secret of her family. One day, she said, "You are so nice, Aunt Jill. I love you a lot. Dad says that you love me as well." I do love you a lot, Nina. You are almost like my own child now. Do you like being here at my house? Yes, Jill, I love being here. Mom likes coming here too. She says that one day you'll give me the house and we can all stay here together. What? What do you mean, Nina? When did your mother talk to you about this? She tells me almost every day, Jill. She told me not to tell you, but I feel bad keeping secrets. Mom doesn't want you to know that she is here. Your mom has been visiting this house? But how, Nina? I don't understand. You gave Kurt a set of your keys. Mom said that Kurt gave her those keys so that she could come and see me. When does your mom visit you, Nina? I don't see her around when I come. She visits when you are out for groceries and shopping. She usually leaves before you come home. My head was spinning with all this information. I couldn't believe how badly my brother and his wife betrayed me. I had a hard time believing what I was hearing from Nina. Yes, it's true that I left Nina with my housekeeper when I went shopping, but I had no idea that Betty was sneaking in with the house keys when the housekeeper was busy with her work. And she somehow left before I returned. The sheer calculation that Kurt and Betty used to chalk out this plan was mind-blowing. I was truly in shock. I decided to get some more information from Nina. I said, Nina, do you know why your mom is pretending to be missing? You know that she made everyone believe that she is not in the city. Mom said that she needed to do this for us. She wants you to take me in and keep me as your child. She says that you're rich and will give me a good life because you don't have children. That's why she did this. How much of this does Kurt know, Nina? Is he helping your mom as well? I know Kurt wants me to take care of you. Believe me, I like having you around. I'm just curious, so I'm asking. Yeah, they told me not to tell you and pretend that mom is not around. I love you, so I told you everything. I hope you're not mad at me. Oh, Nina, I'm not mad at you, dear. Thank you so much for sharing your secrets with me. It was very exciting to hear this. I wanted to get Kurt and beat the shit out of him. I felt used and manipulated. Those two imbeciles were using me to get my money. They played with my emotions and used their freaking child for their schemes. I was fuming. I didn't know Kurt and Betty could be so greedy that they would go this far. They lied to the entire family to make Nina my heir. They were pathetic and disgusting as parents. I didn't even want to call Kurt my brother anymore. But first, I needed to catch them red-handed. I informed my housekeeper about what was going on and told her to keep an eye on everything. She was embarrassed by the fact that someone had been sneaking in behind her back. I assured her that I wasn't mad because my freaking brother was the one who gave Betty the key. Together, along with Nina, we made a plan. I was going to end this game once and for all. The next day, I decided to go on a shopping trip. I left the house in a good mood and went off in my car. Then, I made 2 circles around the neighborhood before hopping right back into the house. My housekeeper gave me the green signal, and I marched inside straight into Nina's room. She was alone playing with her toys. I looked at her and raised my eyebrows. She nodded at me and pointed straight to the closet. I went to her closet and opened the door with a very serious face. Lo and behold, I found my dear sister-in-law, Betty, sitting inside the small space. As soon as she saw me, she turned as white as a ghost. I dragged her out and said, So, are you going to tell me what you were doing in my house and hiding in my closet? I was just visiting my daughter. Well, who exactly gave you permission to enter my house? I don't remember ever giving you a set of my house keys. And weren't you supposed to be missing? I got it from Kurt. I was missing Nina. I just came back today. I was desperate to see my daughter, so I came here without your permission. Ah, so you suddenly came back today. Pray tell me why Nina has been telling me that you visited her every time I left the house. Do you have a good answer to that? She's a child and doesn't know what she's saying. You shouldn't believe her words. She is a child. That's why she told me the truth. You tried to recruit your child in your evil plans of enjoying my money. You should be ashamed of yourself, Betty. You should have thought twice before trespassing into my house. You know that I can get you arrested, right? Betty looked really frightened and started to sweat. It didn't occur to her that she literally came to my house illegally, and I was well within my rights to get her arrested. She was really nervous when she comprehended the situation. She knew that she was stuck. I told the housekeeper to take Nina to my room so that Betty couldn't use her as a blackmail tool. She was stuck with me for good. She said, "Jill, there's no need to get the police involved. I swear I just returned today. I just wanted to see Nina, so I begged Kurt for the keys." Is that so, Betty? Then why is Kurt saying that he still hasn't heard from you? Stop trying to twist the story, Betty. I know well enough that you and Kurt made up this plan to manipulate me. Your daughter has told me everything. Jill, you have to understand, I only had her best interest in mind. I was a poor and desperate mother who wanted her daughter to have a good life. Is that why you've been telling Nina about you all living in my house? Your daughter's a good kid, Betty. She knows that what you did was wrong. So she told me everything. You thought you could take advantage of me by using your child. Well, you are wrong. Now, I will show you what happens to people who mess with me. As soon as I said this, I could already hear the sirens in the distance. Yes, I called the cops on Betty the moment I walked in through my door. She entered my house without my permission. I was going to teach her a nice lesson. She tried to run, but I caught her and kept her in place. The cops came and took my statement. Then they arrested her. I also graciously informed them about the whole situation, which absolutely shocked them. Needless to say, they contacted CPS to have them look into the case. Since her mom was now in jail, Nina's dad would get full custody of her now. As for my brother, karma was knocking at his door too. After the cops took Betty away, I went straight to my parents. From there, we called Kurt and told him to come over. By the time he arrived, he already knew that his grand plan had been discovered. He looked embarrassed and refused to meet our eyes. I said, "Do you have anything to say for yourself, Kurt? Don't bother lying because we are way past that now. I know the truth just as well as you do." "I'm sorry, Jill. I really did what was best for Nina. I knew that you had the means to give her a luxurious life. You are alone and don't have children, so we thought having Nina around would be good for you too." "That is bullshit, Kurt. You did this all for yourselves. Nina would be the happiest around her parents. Instead of working hard and providing for Nina, you decided to dump her on me instead. You didn't care if I was alone. You only cared about who my heir would be. So you used that poor child to trap me." "Jill, please believe me. I don't care what you wanted, Kurt. The truth is that you lied to me and played with my feelings. I helped you out all the time, and this is how you treat me. From today, you are on your own. Nina is going to her father anyway. After this day, I don't have a brother, and don't even think about asking me for money again. I won't help you, even if you are dying." Kurt didn't expect me to be so hard on him. He looked shocked and immediately started to apologize and beg for forgiveness. He even tried to recruit our parents to speak for him. Instead, my parents jumped on him and berated him for being a lying and scheming witch. They also told him that they felt betrayed and wanted nothing to do with him anymore. And they promised to tell everyone what a horrible person he and Betty were. My parents were always high on morals and ethics, so my brother's greedy schemes and manipulations really set them off. They were also offended on my behalf and wanted to teach the couple a nice lesson. After they screamed at him for an hour, they ungraciously kicked him out. Kurt did show up at my door to beg me for forgiveness. My police case had indeed landed them in a lot of trouble. CPS is looking into the case, and it looks like Betty will lose custody of Nina to her ex-husband. Kurt apparently doesn't have any savings to get Betty out of jail. Her husband was already on his way to get Nina while she stayed with me for the time being. I told Kurt that he and Betty deserved whatever was happening to them. Then I shut the door on their faces. From what I hear, no one is willing to support Kurt or Betty anymore. They are alone with a nice lawsuit hanging on their head. Nina has been picked up by her father, who thanked me for taking such good care of her. I still talk to the little girl at times, but mostly my life is back to where it was. Hi guys, my name's Mia. I'm now a single lady, but once I was married to a horrible guy named Jack. His parents, Shane and Irina, were equally bad, and the two of them regularly made me feel like shit. To be honest, Jack and I both had good jobs and were earning a lot of money, but his parents never acknowledged that. They thought that I was a gold digger who mooched off their son. That was partly Jack's fault. He always said, "Mia is very lucky to marry me. She does have the desire to lead a luxurious life. She couldn't have done that without my help, of course. You know what, Mom, Dad? I showed them most of the finances of our house." "Jack, what are you saying?" "Oh, Jack, you are such a generous guy. Any woman would be lucky to have you. Mia, you better take care of my son properly. If he leaves you, you'll be left with nothing." "Yeah, thank God we made you sign a prenup before marriage. We knew Mia wouldn't amount to anything, so we thought we should protect our son." Yes, his parents made us sign a prenup. Look, I don't have a problem with prenups. I was just mad at the fact that Jack didn't even discuss this with me. He always told his parents that I earned way less than him and depended on him for everything. So they assumed that I was a gold digger. Jack always told me to go with his lies because his family would look down on him if they found out that I earned more than him. I really loved Jack and didn't want him to feel humiliated, so I put up with the insults. I was a freaking idiot for marrying Jack. That man didn't love me and didn't have any respect for me. He regularly humiliated me for earning less than him and spending all his money. All of them were lies. In fact, he was actually fired from his job a year ago and was dependent on me. But he didn't want his parents to find out, of course. Jack was getting on my nerves and draining my savings. I was getting really tired of him not looking for work. The final strike came when I purchased a house. I got some inheritance money from a relative and was building a house fund. I found a great match and went for it. It was a beautiful house and I immediately fell in love. I bought it and put the title in my name only. Jack protested, but I reminded him that he didn't pay a cent towards the purchase. Still, he would not stop pestering me. What put me over the edge was what he told his parents at a family dinner. We were having a good time until his parents decided to talk about the house. They said, "So, I hear that you two have bought a big house. I went to see the house before you guys moved in. It's truly one of a kind. Did you two already move in?" "Yes, Shane, we have finalized the deal just a month ago. It's already pretty well made and furnished, so we moved in last week. We're still settling in, but it's nice to finally have a place of our own." "So, did you two buy the house jointly? I don't see how your meager salary can buy such a big house, Mia. I guess my son paid most of the money." "No, Mom, you're wrong. I didn't pay most of the money." At this point, I thought that Jack would rectify his parents' mistakes and tell them that the house actually belonged to me. I expected him to tell them that I was the one who paid in full and owned the house. But what he said next absolutely blew my mind. He said, "Actually, I paid for the entire house. My job has been going so well that I could save up a lot of money, so I thought I might as well buy a house in my name." See, I knew it. My son is so successful that he bought a huge house all by himself. God, I'm so happy for you, Jack. "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you, son. It must have been a huge feat to buy your own house. You have reached the peak of success, my son. I'm so happy for you." Irina and Shane kept congratulating Jack and completely ignoring me. I tried to get Jack's attention, but he was intentionally avoiding meeting my eye. I was getting really pissed by what I witnessed. I controlled my anger because I didn't want to shout at him in front of his parents. However, as soon as we left, I said, "What the hell was that, Jack? Why did you tell your parents that you bought the house all by yourself? You didn't spend a penny on it." "Relax, Mia. I told them to make them a little happy. I don't want them to suspect that I lost my job. They'd be extremely disappointed. What else was I supposed to do?" "You could have said that we went 50-50 on the house. But no, you literally took all the credit for buying the house. I feel humiliated and cheated, Jack. This is very unfair." "Look, what's done is done. I'm not going to back and correct myself. I won't humiliate myself like that. Who cares what my parents think? Let him be. So he had no problem humiliating me, but won't do that to himself for the truth. That day, I realized something. Jack has completely changed after our marriage. He no longer cared about me or my feelings. He was mooching off me for the last year and is showing no signs of getting a job again. I was getting tired of shouldering all the family expenses. He was even fighting with me to put his name on the house title as well. Somewhere in my mind, I could understand that he was using me. Still, I was on the fence about what to do. That was until something more drastic happened. The next evening, I was making myself a snack when suddenly I heard the doorbell ring. I was curious to see who was visiting because there was a lot of commotion at the door. Jack hurried downstairs and opened the door with a little look of uneasiness. I was shocked to see his parents at the door with all their stuff. His parents were smiling and laughing with Jack while they brought their things inside. Before I could ask what was going on, I heard them say, "Jack, we got all our stuff here. We packed our things as soon as you told us that we could stay here. You are the best son ever, Jack." "We knew we raised you right when you told us to come stay at your new house. I've told all of my friends what a great son you are. We're so proud of you." "I'm glad to make you proud, Mom and Dad. It's nothing, actually. You guys were right. You need to stay with us since I bought such a big house, with plenty of room to house you for free." My mouth was hanging open as soon as I heard that. In no alternate universe did I ever approve of Jack allowing his parents to stay in my house. I could see that this house charade had gone too far. Still, I didn't want to confront Jack in front of his family. There was no way his parents were living in my house, that was sure. But I was trying to find a way to deal with this situation gently. They continued to make castles in the air. God, it is so nice to finally live in a big house. We were really getting cramped up in the old place. I'm so proud of my son for being this successful. This house is truly magnificent. Yeah, he said that this place has 4 bedrooms. Imagine that, Irina. Oh my God, yes, 4 freaking bedrooms. We will take the biggest room out of all of those. It will be my dream come true. Come on now, Jack. Show us which is the biggest and best room. We can't wait. Why don't you two just wait here while I have a chat with your son here? I'm sure he has a lot of explaining to do. Jack looked panicked when I said that. He started to look at everything except me. He knew that he was in deep trouble. I was already getting very angry at my in-laws' sudden arrival. Their demands for the biggest room also pissed me off beyond imagination. Jack could tell that this wasn't going to end well for him, so he decided to be a coward and hide behind his parents. He said, "Why do we need to talk in private since my parents will stay here from now on? We can just talk in front of them. I don't think it'll be a problem." "Are you sure about that, Jack?" "Well, I don't mind discussing this in front of your parents if you don't." "I have no problem as well, Mia. Go ahead and tell me what you want." "You know what I'm going to say, Jack. Your parents won't be living here. I won't allow this to happen. You didn't even consult me before inviting them over. How do you think this is okay?" "How dare you say that to my son? This is his house and he can do what he pleases." "Yes, he doesn't need your permission to keep us here. Know your place, Mia. You can't just talk to our son like that. You should be careful so that he doesn't kick you out. Now stop being a spoiled brat and show us the biggest room. We can't wait any longer. Take us to our room." "Nah, I don't think I'll do that, Irina." Irina and Shane were super shocked by my audacity. I didn't know if I should be mad at them or not. Yes, they are super entitled people, but it was Jack's fault for lying to his parents. If Jack hadn't lied to them and invited them over, we wouldn't be having this problem. Still, I knew that Irina and Shane were not completely innocent either. They were standing in my house and threatening to have me kicked out. I don't know how I can look past that. They said, "What do you mean, Mia? If you don't show us the room, Jack will. Our son has promised us that we can have the biggest room. We left our rented apartment because of that. Yes, we came here today because Jack promised to take care of us. Our son is such a good man and he knows how to take care of his parents. He was the one who invited us over to stay in his new house. That's why we ended our lease early. Well, in that case, you have made a huge mistake, Irina and Shane. I don't think you can stay here at all, let alone get the biggest room. How dare you, Mia? We don't need your permission to stay here. My son will show us our room if you don't. This house is not yours, so you can't dictate whether we can stay here or not. You have that wrong, Irina. I guess Jack hasn't told you yet. This house belongs to me and not him, so you won't be getting the biggest room. You will have to do with the streets instead. What? That's impossible. Jack has told us already that he bought this house. You're telling lies. Is that so, guys? Then why don't you ask Jack and find out the truth? I'm sure he'll clear everything. Damn right we will, Mia. Jack, tell your wife that she's being a lying witch right now. Yeah, Jack, tell her that you own the house. You have said so yourself. Both Shane and Irina expectantly looked at Jack to tell them what they wanted to hear. Again, I don't blame them because it was Jack who lied to his parents. Jack was looking down at his feet and not saying anything. Slowly, it dawned on his parents that there was a possibility I was speaking the truth. They still couldn't believe it completely. I mean, all this while they thought that I was a gold digger with a bad job and their son was a hard-working and successful man. They said, Jack, why are you not saying anything? This house belongs to you, right? That's what you told us. Why are you being so quiet, Jack? Tell her that she can't kick us out. What will he say, guys? He's been lying to you two all this while. I can even show you the property papers that say I am the sole owner of this house. That can't be true. You work a simple job and don't have a lot of money. My son has a huge income and can afford this house. There is no way that this house is yours. Correction, Irina, your son had a huge income. He also didn't tell you that he had been fired from his job a year ago. Since then, he's been living on my income. And for your information, I have a very good job. Just because I show off, that doesn't mean I'm a poor woman. Oh boy, you guys should have seen the expression on Shane and Irina's faces when I revealed the truth. They were totally dumbstruck by my words. Jack, as usual, was still watching the floor, refusing to meet his parents' eyes. His parents kept asking him to confirm what I said was the truth. He didn't utter a single word until I said, Okay, that's enough drama for a single day. Shane and Irina, I've entertained you two in my house for long enough. It's time you two take your things and leave. Mia, you can't just kick my parents out like that. They broke their lease to come to stay with us. They have nowhere to go right now. You can't just put them on the streets. I can, and I will, Jack. They didn't consult me before making these horrible decisions, and you didn't think of taking my input before ensuring them a place at my house. Look, this might be your house, but I'm also your husband. If I say my parents will stay here, they will stay here. You can't kick them out. That's right. This is also my son's house right now. Everything that belongs to you also belongs to him, so you can't kick us out. No, Irina, I can kick you out. And don't worry about Jack because he will be kicked out with them too. Now, Jack, since you're still married to me, I will make a nice eviction notice for you, and I will make sure you won't stay married for long. What do you mean, Mia? Are you going to divorce me? Yes, my dear husband, I'm going to divorce you. I'll call my lawyer tomorrow and set up an appointment. I'm sure we will be able to serve you by next week. Jack immediately panicked when I mentioned the divorce. He looked pretty pissed off and acted like I can't do that to him or something. His anger also set me off, but I controlled myself. I wouldn't stoop to his level. He said, You can go divorce me, Mia. If you do, I will take half the house and claim alimony from you. How do you plan to do that, Jack? Have you forgotten the prenup that you and your parents made me sign? Do you want me to remind you what it said? Jack was now suddenly reminded of the prenup that we had signed before we got married. It clearly said that under no circumstances we can ever claim alimony from each other. And it also said that our private assets will stay ours and won't be divided in case of a divorce. Back then, Jack and his parents made me sign this prenup to protect Jack. They never imagined that Jack would end up being the one on the losing side. His parents had so much faith in his ability to succeed that they forgot what fate could do to people. Now, they understood the implications of the prenup. Suddenly, their entire demeanor changed. They said, "Now we don't have to jump to a divorce right away. We can all sit down and have an adult conversation about this." "Yes, Mia, let's just calm down and talk this out. I'm sure we might actually arrive at a compromise that will be beneficial for everyone." I don't care what would be beneficial to you guys. I refuse to be the cash cow for you, Jack, and I refuse to let your parents take advantage of me after how badly they treated me. That was in the past, Mia. Many years have passed since then. I'm sure you can look past that now. It was a very minor issue. You and your wife just threatened to have me kicked out because I refused to house you. And that happened just a few minutes ago. There is no use making excuses and being pleasant to me now. You and Irina need to leave before I call the cops. I would prefer if Jack leaves as well, but if he needs an eviction notice, he will get that soon. Jack, Shane, and Irina then started to beg with me to change my mind. Those two idiots had really ended their lease because they wanted to move in with us. Jack thought that he would somehow convince me to play along like I did in the past. He had no idea that I would actually stand up against him and stop being a pushover. I was done being the family doormat. Not anymore. They could go to hell for all I care. When I saw that Irina and Shane weren't leaving even after an hour, I decided to call the cops. They came and escorted them out of the house. After Irina and Shane left, Jack screamed at me for humiliating his parents and kicking them out. I reminded him that he too had only a month to vacate my house. That made him switch his behavior to being apologetic and remorseful. The way this family changed their behavior seriously gave me a headache. Thankfully, I didn't have to deal with them for long. From that night onwards, I didn't allow Jack into my room. He stayed in the guest room until it was time for him to leave. Yes, he was served with an eviction notice, so he had no choice. Meanwhile, his parents, after spending a huge chunk of their savings on a hotel, were forced to find a new place to rent. Surprisingly, they didn't allow Jack into their new place. Jack was left scrambling for a place just like his parents were. I guess they really wanted Jack to pay for lying to them and leaving them in a lurch. From what it seems, since then, their relationship has become strained. They blamed each other for their present condition, and now his parents refuse to support Jack anymore. He was only good for them when he had money. Jack had no couch surf at his friends till he got a job. I filed for divorce from Jack. There was no way I was going to stay with him anymore. He disrespected me and revealed himself to be a very vain and selfish man. That was not the person I fell in love with. Jack tried his best to make me change my mind, but I was firm in my decision. I refused to be taken advantage of anymore. Since we don't have kids, we got divorced after being separated for 6 months only. In those 6 months, I built myself back up and now have started to date again. Surprisingly, Jack is still hoping we can get back together, but that, unfortunately, will be in his dreams only. Hello guys, my name's Lillian. I'm a chef who loves to cook and feed people. My mom was a great cook and always encouraged me to develop this skill, so I fell in love with cooking at a very young age. It was inevitable that I would end up in culinary school. I don't want to look proud or something, but I am pretty good at it. I used to work in a popular restaurant in Manhattan. That is where I met my husband Gabriel. He was there dining with his workmates and really loved the food. He asked to see the chef, and the rest is history. No, I didn't work for big names or anything, but I can say that I make good food. That is something my mother-in-law, Oprah, had a hard time believing. Oprah herself is a baker, even though she never went to culinary school. She lives in a small town and works as a baker for a small restaurant. Well, she doesn't work there anymore, and this story will tell you why. Oprah was always very proud of her culinary skills. The first time she met me, she said, "So, my son has told me that you work as a cook. Are you like a salad maker or something?" No, Oprah. I am the head chef at a pretty popular restaurant. I'm not just a salad maker, although sometimes I help my staff assemble them. Oh, you don't have to act all high and fancy in front of me. I'm sure Gabriel has told you that I am a baker. I'm pretty well known in my town and everyone loves my food. I can cook some really good meals too. That is so exciting, Oprah. Yes. Gabriel did tell me that you are a great cook. I'm excited to go on a culinary journey with you. We can brainstorm and make some great dishes together. Wait. Hold on, Lillian. Now, you're just a youngster. I am a veteran chef and have more complex skills than you. I don't think we'll be a good match. My dishes and techniques will go over your head. Well, I am a good learner. I went to culinary school, so I know some complex stuff about cooking. Even if I don't know, you can teach me so I can learn then. Oh, please, I won't waste my time on absolutely anyone just because she calls herself a head chef. I'm very busy with work and don't have time to take private classes. Maybe once you are as old as me, you might be just as good, or maybe not. Oprah said that and started to laugh. She had this horrible air of pride in her that made me uncomfortable. Her stance on me didn't change at all. She was sure that I was a bad chef and nothing compared to her. At first, I wanted to stay humble and give her respect. However, she started to humiliate me and act like I'm inferior or something. After working for years in this high-pressure industry, these insults hit very close to my heart. I was determined to prove her wrong. After Gabriel and I got married, Oprah simply escalated her behavior. She made fun of me and my cooking every time she talked about me. She even went as far as to humiliate me in front of my guests. Even Gabriel was getting tired of her entitled and proud behavior. He often stood up for me and told me that I was a great cook. But Oprah never agreed. It all came to a head when we visited Oprah in her town. We stayed at her place for a week because I wanted to see where Gabriel grew up. I had no idea what was waiting for me there. About 4 days after we came to Oprah's house, she gave me a big challenge. She said, "My son defends you a lot and says that your cooking is great. I'm slightly offended knowing he thinks so highly of your cooking. His own mother is a great cook, so it hurts." "It's not like that, Mom. I love your cooking as well. I just find it unfair when you demean her and criticize her too much. I mean, you didn't even taste her food once." "How about we solve that problem, Gabriel? Let's have a nice family dinner tomorrow. Lillian can do all the cooking. I want to taste her food and see if she is really that good." "I would be happy to make a family dinner, Oprah. I was waiting for you to try some of my dishes. I will try my best to impress you." Trust me, guys, I had no interest in impressing Oprah. I knew that her pride wouldn't let her appreciate my food. Still, I wanted to prove myself once, so I agreed to cook a nice dinner for us the next day. I had no idea that Oprah had suggested this plan just to humiliate me. How do I know? Well, the next day when I left my food in the oven, I got a text from her. I was in my room waiting for the food to cook. I was curious as to what Oprah was sending me from the next room. I opened the text and saw that she had sent me a video of her adding too much salt to my food. She then texted me and said, "Now, let's see if Gabriel still thinks you are better than me. After today, he will never praise your cooking again." Wow, Oprah, you destroyed the meal I cooked with so much work. Then you sent me the evidence to mock me? Have you no shame? I literally prepared it for hours. I don't care, Miss Wannabe Head Chef. You are nothing but a little girl who thinks she's better than me. Today, we will see who wins. You are acting in a very unethical way, Oprah. This is not how someone wins or loses. Plus, this was never a competition. You sabotaged my food. Whatever, Lillian. You don't have enough time to make a new meal now. Gabriel will be home within an hour. It will be so fun to see you get humiliated in front of him. I was furious to see how cruel Oprah was being. She dared to make fun of me after destroying all my good work? I wanted to cry, but I held back my tears. I wasn't going to let her get away with this so easily. Immediately, I called Gabriel and told him what we needed to talk. I said, Gabriel, I need to talk to you about something important. Yeah, sure. What is the matter, Lillian? Gabriel, I don't know how to say this. Your mom has tried to destroy my cooking. What? Are you sure about this, Lillian? It's highly unlikely Mom would do something like that. She sent me a video of her adding too much salt to my dish. I left the food to cook and went to our room for my phone. When I was scrolling through the messages, she sent the video. If you don't believe me, take a look at that. I sent Gabriel the video that Oprah had given me. At first, he refused to believe that his mom could do something like this. Then I showed him the video. He was horrified to see what Oprah did. He reads a lot of these crazy mother-in-law stories and knows that behaviors like these always escalate. He never thought Oprah would turn out to be one of them. Once he saw the proof, he was furious. We talked about what Oprah did, and Gabriel was adamant that his mom needs to be taught a lesson. After thinking for a while, he said, You know what, Lillian? I'm going to call someone for this special dinner. I'm sure she will appreciate my mom's altered recipe. Let's give her a chance to impress someone very important. What do you have in mind, Gabriel? I can tell you're making an excellent plan. You seem pretty excited about this. I will tell you who I called, Lillian. I'm sure it will get you excited as well. It's going to be glorious. After today, I don't think I would want my mom in our lives, but that won't be enough for her. She really needs to get a taste of her own medicine. Altering someone's food is actually an offense. Today, she has added salt. Tomorrow, who knows what she will do? We need to nip this in the bud so that she knows how bad she messed up. I like the way you're thinking, Gabriel. To be honest, I was really hoping we could stop contact with Oprah after this. You have no idea how happy I am knowing that you feel the same way. Gabriel shared his plan with me, and I must say he has a wicked mind. But Oprah deserves this completely. It will be extra fun to see her reaction when she realizes how bad she messed up. I okayed the plan and told Gabriel to call his special guest. We didn't tell Oprah right away. It would be a grand surprise. After 2 hours, my meal was finally ready. I should say our meal because I did get help from Oprah, whose assistance is indispensable. I had to work hard to control my laughter so that Oprah wouldn't realize that I knew something. The dinner actually looked pretty good because, well, I am a good cook. But Oprah and I both knew it would taste horrible with all the salt she added. Oprah and I were both excited for dinner for 2 different reasons. We went to the dining space to get everything ready. Gabriel was already home and setting up the table for us. Oprah looked a little confused when she saw an extra seat at the table. She said, "You have messed up the seating, Gabriel. There are just 3 of us. Why have you added an extra chair?" "I forgot to tell you, Mom, I actually invited someone over today. Lillian has worked hard for this meal, so I thought we could use some professional judgment on it." "Oh, I see, Gabriel. So, who have you called? Do I know this person?" "Yes, Mom, you know her very well. It's my friend Tessa. Since she is your boss and knows a lot about food, I thought she would be the perfect critic." Oprah immediately looked alarmed at what Gabriel said. Her face changed so quickly that I almost lost it right there. Even Gabriel was struggling not to laugh. But he feigned confusion and asked if Oprah was okay. My wonderful husband literally had the best idea. Tessa was a very good friend of ours. She was originally Gabriel's friend, but we also bonded fast over our love for food. Coincidentally, Oprah was actually working as a baker at Tessa's restaurant, so she was Oprah's boss. Tessa knew what was up and gladly agreed to take part. Before Oprah could say anything, Tessa walked in. She looked excited and glinted in her eyes. She said, "Hey guys, thank you so much for inviting me. I was getting bored at home since my husband was on a business trip. I'm so glad you invited me. I'm excited to taste what Lillian has made for me." "Thanks for coming, Tessa. We're glad to have you here. I just sprung this invitation on you and Mom. Mom, I hope you don't feel uncomfortable. Tessa is family anyway." "Oh, well, it's not a problem at all. I'm happy my boss can have a taste of what my chef daughter-in-law has cooked. Tessa, thank you for coming." Oprah mumbled this and couldn't look Tessa in the eye. She smiled innocently at her and sat down for dinner. She also commented on how great the food looked. I sweetly got up from my seat and started to serve everyone. I gave Oprah a generous amount of serving because, well, she was the one who wanted to taste my dish so bad. As soon as everyone took one bite of the food, they had to spit it out. I tasted it, and seriously, it was pretty disgusting. Oprah actually started to cough from how bad it was. She stormed at me from her seat and said, "Oh my God, Lillian, this is horrible. Why did you put so much salt in it? You are a terrible cook. I see that I was right. Going to a culinary school doesn't mean you can be a good cook. I'm so embarrassed that Tessa had to taste this." "I agree, this is just horrible. But it's highly unlikely someone added this much salt by mistake. There is no way they didn't know what they were doing." "Exactly, Tessa. This can't be an accident. See? Oprah, a professional, always knows when someone messed up the salt measurements and when a dish was intentionally made salty." Oprah again looked like a deer in headlights. She was afraid to think that we had caught her. She tried to keep her face neutral and blamed me for everything. She is truly excellent at continuing her charade. She said, "Oh God, Lillian, did you intentionally add too much salt to the food? You knew Tessa was coming to taste your food. I can understand that you have no respect for me, but you should have thought about our guests." "You are wrong, Oprah. I didn't intentionally put too much salt in the dish. You did. Don't look so surprised and offended. We know you spoiled my dish by adding too much salt." "How dare you accuse me of such a thing? I'm just a poor old lady who wants to see how good you can cook. You are just jealous of my skills and making false allegations. I bet you don't even know how to cook properly. Who knows if you even went to culinary school?" "I am not lying about anything, Oprah. You and I both know that very well. You mixed salt in my food to make it taste bad." "Gabriel, look at what your wife is saying. I'm sure she did it herself so that she could make me look bad. Why aren't you saying anything?" "I'm not saying anything because I saw the proof, Mom. I know you did it. Lillian has it recorded on her mobile. Hey, Tessa, do you want to see it?" Tessa seemed enthusiastic about seeing the video. When Oprah realized that her nasty plan was caught, she started to panic. She looked scared and was gulping hard. Tessa saw the video and looked at Oprah with a serious face. She said, "What is the meaning of this, Oprah? You intentionally spoiled Lillian's cooking because you were jealous?" "Tessa, it's not like that. I was just joking with her. It was just a friendly competition." "I don't care why you did it, Oprah. You know very well how this kind of behavior is frowned upon in this industry. Spoiling someone's cooking is a very bad thing to do. I don't know if I can trust you in my restaurant anymore." "Oh no, Tessa, I would never do that at the restaurant. I was only a little jealous of Lillian because she has a fancy degree and all. I swear I would never jeopardize your restaurant's reputation." "The fact that you could do this to your own daughter-in-law is horrible, Oprah. I can't even begin to imagine what you would do when you get jealous of your fellow co-workers." "I don't think I can take that risk. I'm afraid that I have to fire you." No, Tessa, please don't do that. I'm so sorry. This will never happen again." Oprah began to beg for forgiveness from Tessa. She started to cry when she heard about losing her job. My dear mother-in-law got so frantic that she was ready to beg on her knees. She lives in a small town, so finding a new job like this is very rare. The town literally had one restaurant and one cafe. The cafe already has one excellent baker from culinary school. And it was the owner herself, so no luck there. Tessa gave Oprah the job because she was Gabriel's mom. Otherwise, there were plenty of good candidates in the town. Almost all the housewives here love to bake and want to work at the restaurant, so it would be easy to replace her. Oprah knew that and started to cry. She said, "Gabriel, please make Tessa understand. I can't lose my job. It was a small mistake. It won't happen again. Gabriel, please help me." "Why the hell would I help you, Mom? Tessa is right. It would be risky for her to keep you as her staff. An employee with no ethics is dangerous for any place of business. I support her completely. And you haven't even apologized to Lillian about what you did." Okay, I will apologize to her right now. "Lillian, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. Please forgive me." "Absolutely not, Oprah. This wasn't a mistake. You planned the entire thing and acted maliciously towards me. I bet you wouldn't have apologized if your job wasn't on the line. I can't forgive stuff like this." "Mom, you really took it too hard for today. I don't feel comfortable being around you with my wife anymore. We will be leaving today. I had already packed our bags while you two were finishing up. We don't want any contact with you anymore, at least not for now. We gave you too many chances." "Good decision, Gabriel. You two can stay with me while you find flights. It won't be a problem. I'll be happy to host you, unlike Oprah here." Oprah went mad when we said this. She started to yell and cry about how I ruined her life and all. In one swoop, she lost both her job and her family. She was hysterical and poured a lot of venom on me. That gave us the incentive to hurry up and leave. There was no coming back from what she said. I won't mention her words because it is really that bad. Me, Gabriel, and Tessa left while Oprah was sobbing on the floor, still screaming at me. After leaving the house, the three of us went straight to Tessa's restaurant to eat. We had a nice dinner there and actually talked about her new restaurant. Tessa was planning to open a new place where we lived, and she wanted me to work there. Gabriel was also interested in investing in her new venture, and we made a good business deal. Tessa was truly a great businesswoman, and we had full faith in her. Overall, our day went pretty well. The next day, Gabriel and I managed to get a flight back from the nearest city. Tessa drove us there and bid us goodbye. Of course, we would see her soon to finalize our plans for her new restaurant. Meanwhile, Oprah kept blowing up all our phones. Tessa texted her back because she still needed to fire her in the legal way. We simply told her not to contact us and blocked her. We read the texts later and saw that she was truly becoming unhinged. As the days passed, Oprah was in big trouble. Tessa fired her as promised and got a better replacement. She was out of work and desperately needed money. Tessa told us that Oprah had to take work as a cleaner in a grocery store because literally no job was available. That made us chuckle a little. I did feel bad for her for a while, but then I remembered the words she used against me. It was enough to send me back to having her. Tessa's new restaurant is up and running within a year. Gabriel's contribution helped to kickstart it. I'm currently working there and having a great time. Tessa comes down here sometimes to check on things. We have bonded even more and have lots of fun together. We are still in no contact with Oprah and hope to keep it that way until she shows real progress. Hi, I'm Emily and I'm writing about what my mother-in-law did to me and how I got her back for it. So, when will you get this inheritance, Emily? I heard it totals $25 million. You know we can have such a great life with that money. God, it's taking a long time to get processed. These words are my mother-in-law, Cassandra's open thoughts. Ever since I married Xavier, my mother-in-law kept pestering me about my inheritance. I stupidly told her about it when she asked me about my future. Yes, big mistake. She had always been friendly to me after that. I didn't think much of it, but sometimes her persistence annoyed me. My husband, Xavier, and father-in-law, Joshua, always told Cassandra off. They said, "Cassandra, you need to stop pestering her about the inheritance. It doesn't matter when or whether she gets it. It's none of our business." "Yes, Mom, you're being super rude and annoying. We already have a pretty good life. Emily had a job and I have a good job as well. We are already supporting you and Dad financially. What more do you need?" "It's a lot of money, guys. You guys don't understand. We could have a much better lifestyle with it. We won't even have to live in this old house I inherited. Maybe we can get a mansion." "Wow, Cassandra, you are getting carried away. I don't even know whether I will get the inheritance. The process is pretty complicated. Plus, how do you know I didn't lie about it? Maybe there is no inheritance after all." Everyone started to laugh while Cassandra immediately looked serious. She didn't look amused at all. Instead, she gave me the dirtiest look possible. After that day, she became the worst mother-in-law possible. She was rude, mean, and insulting. Her entire behavior towards me changed. Suddenly, she couldn't stand me anymore. I knew that she was a very greedy woman, so I thought my words must have offended her or angered her. Boy, I was not prepared for what she was about to do. This woman went crazy on me when she thought I was a middle-class girl with no big inheritance. A month or so later, Cassandra did something I never imagined she would do. That day, Joshua and Xavier were out for a fishing trip. I was in my room working on my laptop. When I was on break and went to the kitchen, Cassandra approached me with a disgusted expression on her face. She said in a horrible tone, "You need to come to my room right now. I need to talk to you in private. Don't keep me waiting. It's very important." "What is the matter, Cassandra? What's so important?" "Stop flapping your jaws and come to my room. I told you it's important." I was unsure why Cassandra was calling me to her room. Somewhere in the back of my mind, the conversation of a post-nup suddenly popped up. I was almost sure that this had something to do with the post-nup. I didn't want to stay in suspense for a long time, so I followed her upstairs to her room. Once I walked in, she locked the door behind me. She literally locked the door and held the keys in her hand. I was dumbfounded and said, "What the hell are you doing, Cassandra? What is the meaning of this?" "I'm locking you in my room, Emily. Don't worry. You need to do just one thing to get out. Sign these papers right now and you can leave." "Are you mad? This is ridiculous. You locked me in your room to make me sign some papers? What's so important to these documents?" "This is a post-nuptial agreement. I got it made by a lawyer. You need to sign this saying that you won't claim a cent from Xavier in case you two divorce." "What the hell, Cassandra? Why would I sign something like that? First of all, Xavier and I are not getting divorced." "Oh, we will see about that, Emily. You can leave that to me. For now, you do me a favor and sign these papers. You can go ahead and read it, but it won't do you any good. I won't let you leave without signing this." I took the papers from her hand and started to read. I was really curious to know how she had prepared the clauses of the agreement. I read through the terms and was shocked. It literally said that Xavier and I couldn't claim anything from each other in case of a divorce. Hell, I wasn't even allowed to get alimony or anything. There would be 0 asset division, so we can only keep what we have our names on. It was absolutely ridiculous, and I was immediately angry. I said, "What is the meaning of this, Cassandra? We never talked about getting a prenup or postnup ever. Why did you suddenly make this?" "Things were different these years. I thought that you would get that $25 million inheritance so my son wouldn't need a prenup. But now I see that you are lying and gold-digging witch. You were useless to him and us. You will always be a financial burden to him. So you will sign this prenup and then I will figure out how to get Xavier to leave you. Oh, now I see, Cassandra. All these years, you didn't want Xavier and yourselves to miss out on my inheritance, so you never talked about a prenup. Now that you heard that I won't get anything, you want me to give up my rights to my husband's assets. Nice plan you have there, Cassandra. Tell me, how will you convince Xavier to join you in this? I will make up some story or do something. It's easy for me. I can't let my son marry a beggar like you. He needs to divorce you and marry someone rich. Then, me and my family would be able to live a life of luxury. I didn't raise him for years just so he could marry a parasite. What are you even talking about? Xavier doesn't care if I don't have a large inheritance coming. Well, I care, Emily. I care if you don't have a big inheritance coming. I let my son marry you because I thought you would help us have a better life. Now I see that you will actually spoil our life by being dependent on my son. I was getting furious with what Cassandra was saying. I was actually glad that I told her there was no inheritance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found out just how bad she was. Now I understand why Xavier and Joshua are always wary of Cassandra. She is freaking greedy and selfish. This woman literally has no regard for her son or her daughter-in-law. I highly doubt Xavier even knew about the postnup she wanted me to sign. I was ready to give her a piece of my mind. I knew she wouldn't let me leave if I didn't sign. So I let her feel powerful by making me sign the postnup, I said. I don't want to sign a postnup, Cassandra. I need to protect myself too. If Xavier is in favor of a postnup, we will discuss it and get lawyers. I'm not signing whatever shit you're giving me. Listen to me, Emily. I'm not letting you leave until you sign these papers. I can do this all day. Joshua and Xavier won't be back from their fishing trip anytime soon. And I know your boss is calling you to get back to work. Which is exactly why I need to leave. Now give me the keys so that I can get back to work. Enough is enough. This woman then had the audacity to grab my hand hard. It was starting to hurt. She started to scream in my ear about how I was a gold-digging witch and much worse. My anxiety immediately skyrocketed and I was on the edge. At the same time, my boss kept calling me to get back to my computer. I was starting to get really annoyed and frightened by Cassandra, so I gave in and signed as planned. Cassandra looked pleased with herself and finally let me go. As soon as the door was open, I dashed out and locked myself in the room. Then I called my boss and explained everything to her. She is a sweet lady who is appalled by what Cassandra has done. I told her that I might need some time off work to deal with my monster mother-in-law. She agreed and told me to take the day off. I then took pictures of the bruise that was forming from Cassandra's grabbing and holding me in her room. The more I looked at the mark, the angrier I became. Cassandra really crossed her limits today. I had no idea she was capable of this. I needed to take action and teach her a lesson. I didn't call Xavier that day because he and Joshua were far away. I didn't want to disturb them. Instead, I waited for them to return. Xavier and his father returned the next day in a good mood. They immediately became suspicious of me and Cassandra when we looked glum. They didn't know that we were upset for wholly different reasons. Xavier tried to ask me what was wrong. I told him to give me some time. Cassandra took that opportunity to call him and talk about the prenup. How did I know about this? Well, within a few minutes after Cassandra called Xavier over, he came storming downstairs. He looked pissed and said, "What the hell are these papers? Dad, are you involved in this as well?" "What are you talking about, Xavier? What papers? I don't understand." "It's a freaking postnup that Mom made for me and my wife. It is absolutely ridiculous." "I have nothing to do with this, Xavier. This is the first time I've heard something like this. Cassandra, what is going on?" "What will she say, Dad? She's only defending herself and nothing else." "I'm protecting you and us, Xavier. This wife of yours is absolutely worthless. She will never help us have a better life. Instead, she will suck you dry. She's a gold digger, Xavier. She lied to you about her inheritance. What are you saying, Mom? What does Emily's inheritance have anything to do with us? You don't understand, Xavier. I know women like her. She will do something to hurt you and then take all your money in a divorce. You need to sign this postnup and then divorce her when the time is right. Then you can look for a better woman who won't be absolutely broke. Xavier absolutely burst into a fit of rage when he heard that. He started to berate Cassandra, and even Joshua joined him. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Xavier was a complete mama's boy, so I was unsure if he would take my side. But now I could see that not only Xavier but also Joshua was fighting for me. They didn't even know the truth about my inheritance. Xavier had assumed that there was some problem with my inheritance, so it won't come through. They didn't know that I actually received my inheritance yesterday. After fighting for a while, Xavier looked at me with a question in his eyes. He said, "Why did you sign the prenup, Emily? You should have waited for me to come and solve this. You knew I would never agree with something like that. Why did you let Mom get away with this?" "I know you wouldn't have asked for a postnup, Xavier. I trust you. You have always taken care of me without any conditions. I really did want to discuss the postnup with you, but I wasn't allowed to do that. Cassandra cornered me and shut me in her room with herself. Then she grabbed me by my hand and wouldn't let go until I signed the papers. I didn't have a choice. I was forced to give my signature." Xavier and Joshua were stunned to hear what I said. What concerned them even more was that Cassandra didn't even deny it or try to defend herself. She looked awfully confident and proud of what she had done. Meanwhile, my husband and father-in-law were furious. They looked at me with disbelief until I showed them the marks on my arm. Then, the two of them jumped at Cassandra. They said, "Mom, what the hell have you done to Emily? How dare you touch my wife? This is freaking assault. You literally bruised her. Cassandra, you have gone absolutely insane. How the hell did you think this was the right way to behave?" "Why are you two yelling at me? I did what was right for my son. I couldn't have let this gold digger take advantage of him. I am your mother, Xavier. I did this with your best interest in my heart. You hurt my wife for me? That's what you're trying to say? How can you be so cruel? Just because Emily isn't getting her inheritance, that doesn't mean I will divorce her. I didn't freaking marry her for money." But you promised you would give us a better life, Xavier. You said you would allow us to live comfortably. How would that happen if you don't marry someone rich? Cassandra, what is wrong with you? Xavier and Emily both take excellent care of us. Why the hell are you so greedy? Is this life not enough for you? Of course not. I know we can do better only if Xavier marries someone rich. With his status and job, he can easily find someone rich. Just think of how better our life would be. At that point, Xavier and Joshua started to scream and yell at Cassandra. After arguing with them for some time, Cassandra finally realized that she had been backed into a corner. She realized that Joshua and Xavier wouldn't take her side, so she decided to manipulate them with tears. She started to cry out loudly and said, "How dare you make me the villain? I was only trying to do what was best for everyone. I want a better life and I deserve it. I let you all live in my house and this is how you repay me. You do realize that this house is now a marital asset and I am equally entitled to it, right? I have every right to be here. I made Emily move in here so that we can take care of you. We literally shoulder all of our and your expenses, Mom. No one here is freeloading at your house. Actually, you know what? After what you've done, I don't think I'll financially continue to support you anymore. I'm done. Me and Emily will move out next month." "I plan to move out too, Cassandra. All these years I put up with your greedy behavior because you never escalated. But today, you have crossed all your limits by assaulting Emily and forcing her to sign a prenup. I don't want to be with such a vile woman right now." Dad, you can come with us if you want. I don't mind taking care of you. You are not the one who betrayed me and Emily. Oh, really, Xavier? How will you move out? Where will you go? This girl is broke as shit, so she won't be able to help you anyway. You'll be staying in a shitty rented apartment while she destroys your savings. I know this was my cue to deliver some sweet revenge to Cassandra. At this point, I knew that Cassandra needed a wake-up call to see how stupid she was, so before Xavier could say anything, I said, "You won't have to worry about that, Cassandra. I will be perfectly capable of housing all three of us. It won't be a problem at all." Don't make me laugh, Emily. You don't even have a good job that will feed all three of you. Without my house, you will have nowhere to go. You are nothing but a broke gold digger. Actually, no, I'm neither broke nor a gold digger. I am actually quite rich if you consider the $25 million that I have right now. I mean, not all of it is in money, but I do have plenty. What are you talking about? You said there was no inheritance, and you lied about it. I was bored and irritated with your pestering, Cassandra, so I jokingly said that there was no inheritance. I had no idea it would trigger you this bad and reveal your true face. Trust me, Cassandra. I am now grateful that I joked with you that day. Cassandra was absolutely dumbfounded by what I said. Even Xavier and Joshua were a little surprised by what I said. I saw that the wheels were turning in Cassandra's head already. She was trying to figure out what she could do to make me her friend again. She started to awkwardly laugh and said, "Oh my God, you were joking? You were so silly, Emily. I thought you were serious about not having an inheritance." "That was very naughty of you, Emily. You should have said that sooner. We could have avoided all this trouble." "Oh, really, Cassandra? If I told you that I was joking, you wouldn't have made the post-nup, right? And you wouldn't have tried to destroy my marriage, I guess." I got a little carried away, Emily. I really shouldn't have been so harsh. God, I didn't even give you a chance to explain yourself. That was super rude of me. Here, see, I have torn up the post-nup. We don't have to worry about that anymore. No, Cassandra, you don't have to worry about my inheritance anymore. There is no way I am ever having a relationship with you again. If Xavier is still okay with us moving out and cutting contact, I am in this as well. Oh, we are definitely moving out, Emily. Mom has done enough to show us how greedy she is. I won't let her take advantage of you after all she has done. We will move by this month, and that's final. Dad will be going with us as well. Cassandra found herself in deep trouble this day. All three of us were firm in our decision to leave. Me and Xavier were already looking at houses and found one about 1 hour away. Within a month, we finalized the deal and were all set to move in. Buying a house and moving in within a month is super easy when you have money. Thankfully, we had plenty at that point. As decided, Joshua was also moving in with us. We were going to take care of him while he divorced Cassandra. Yes, he made that decision on his own and already filed for divorce that month itself. Cassandra did her best to convince us to stay. She begged us for forgiveness and even cried about her sorry state. She did own a house but didn't have any source of income. She couldn't even claim alimony because Joshua depended on Xavier for money. So neither Joshua nor Cassandra qualified for alimony. In a sick turn of events, Joshua ended up getting half ownership of Cassandra's house because it was acquired after marriage. This meant that she was forced to sell the place. She didn't have the money to buy Joshua out. It was hilarious to see Cassandra lose her own inheritance while trying to get a share of mine. Their divorce took a year because the judge ordered separation. Cassandra cried a lot because she didn't have money to feed herself. She had to sell the house fast to get the money to support herself. Still, she needed to get a job and earn money. Meanwhile, as soon as the divorce was finalized and Joshua got his money, he moved into a small apartment. He didn't want to intrude on our privacy, so he moved out. But we still support him financially because we can. Hello, my name's Serena and I'm 30 years old. I made the mistake of marrying a man with more issues than you could ever imagine. You see, I had this notion that love could conquer all, that I could fix him and make him see his worth. Oh, how wrong I was. Love may be powerful, but it can't teach someone how to love themselves. My ex, let's call him Rob, had an unhealthy obsession with pleasing his parents. And I'm not talking about your typical desire for parental approval. No, it was an all-consuming obsession that dictated his every move. It was as if he believed that his worth as a person was entirely dependent on his parents' validation. Now, let's talk about his lovely parents, shall we? We'll call them Mr. and Mrs. Smith for the sake of anonymity. They were the epitome of neglectful parenting. They rarely showed any genuine interest in their son's well-being, leaving him constantly starved for their attention and approval. It was a heartbreaking sight to witness, but I soon realized that I couldn't fill the void that his parents had left behind. To make matters worse, Rob had a nasty habit of squandering our hard-earned savings at his parents' whims. Can you believe it? I'm talking about extravagant gifts, lavish vacations, and all sorts of unnecessary expenses. It was like money was pouring through our fingers straight into the pockets of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Naturally, this financial irresponsibility became a major point of contention between us. We would argue endlessly about his reckless spending and his inability to prioritize our future. It felt as though I was constantly battling against his parents' influence, and it took a toll on our marriage. But here's the thing, despite the chaos and the endless arguments, I never stopped caring for Rob. I wanted him to break free from the shackles of his parents' expectations and find happiness within himself. However, it became clear that my love alone couldn't save him from the clutches of their toxic influence. Oh, hold tight, folks, because things are about to get even more intense in this roller coaster of a tale. So, one day, Rob approaches me with an air of seriousness, claiming that he has something important to tell me. Now, I'm no stranger to his antics, but little did I know that this conversation would lead to our worst fight yet. Serena, I need to talk to you about something important. All right, what is it? You know my parents are retiring, right? Well, I want to surprise them with a luxury trip. It's going to be quite expensive. That's fine as long as you're using your own money. I can't bear another argument about our savings. I can't afford it on my own. I need to use our savings for this trip. Rob, if you can't afford it, then maybe it's not a good idea to spend so much. Then he snapped at me. You don't understand, Serena. I love my parents and I'd do anything for them, even go above and beyond. Love shouldn't be measured by lavish expenditures. It's about being there for each other, supporting one another. But this trip is important to them. I want to make them happy. And I want us to be financially stable. Using all our savings for a trip is not responsible. You don't get it. This is something I feel compelled to do. I want to give my parents the world. Rob, we can show love and support without sacrificing our financial security. We need to find a reasonable solution. But I thought you'd understand. They mean the world to me. And you mean the world to me too, but we can't ignore practicality. We need to find a balance. You're just being selfish. I can't believe you won't support me in this. It's not about being selfish, Rob. It's about being responsible and planning for our future. How much will this cost anyways? I need all of it. My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This man had the audacity to ask me if I was willing to use all of our savings? He must have lost it. All of our life savings, Rob? Are you sick? Wow, Serena, I didn't think you'd be this heartless. You think money grows on trees? What makes you think that you can say crap like that and be so nonchalant about it? Well, I was planning on getting the money back. Oh, you were going to get $70,000 back. Okay, then that works then. No problem. Really? No, Rob, not really. I was being sarcastic. It's too much, and I won't allow it. Stop treating me like I'm a child. Then stop acting like one. I thought you were the person who would understand and stand by me. I do stand by you, but not at the expense of our financial stability. We need to think this through. The argument had escalated to a point where not only our voices were raised, but also a few things decided to go airborne and smash into a million pieces. Good times, right? And then, out of the blue, Rob drops the bomb. If you can't support me on this, then I want a divorce. Oh boy, he thought I'd start begging him to stay, fighting tooth and nail for our crumbling marriage. But guess what? I didn't take the bait. Nope, not this time. Instead, I summoned all the calm and poise I could muster and shot back. Okay, Rob, if that's what you really want. The shock on his face was priceless. He expected tears and desperate pleas, but instead, he got me standing my ground. I was done coddling and enabling this man. If he wanted to squander his resources, then he was more than welcome to. I didn't hold back. Oh no. I laid it all out on the table. I told him it was time for him to realize that his attempts to win his parents' approval were about as effective as using an umbrella in a hurricane. Pointless, my friend. He tried to argue, but I shut him down with a simple gesture, raising my hand as if to say, "Hold up, buddy." I told him I was tired. Tired of fighting for a love that was based on unrealistic expectations and the constant need for validation. It was time for me to take a stand. You want to spend your money impressing people who couldn't care less. Knock yourself out, buddy. But as for me, I'm done living in this cycle of disappointment and broken promises. Boom. The truth hit him like a ton of bricks. The reality of our situation sunk in, and it wasn't pretty. Our marriage had become a battleground, and it was time to wave the white flag and find our own separate paths. It had been a month since the papers were signed, sealed, and delivered, marking the official end of my turbulent marriage to Rob. And let me tell you, the sense of freedom and relief is absolutely intoxicating. No more sniveling, no more constant battles over money and his parents' approval. I can finally breathe without the weight of his insecurities dragging me down. Life was looking brighter by the day, my friends. Now, I won't lie, Rob did try to worm his way back into my life. He reached out, acting all concerned, asking how I was doing. But I saw right through his little charade. I wasn't about to fall for his tricks again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, you know how the saying goes. I ignored his attempts at rekindling any kind of connection. I had learned my lesson. I had spent far too long trying to fix someone who didn't want to be fixed. It was time to focus on myself, my growth, and my happiness. Getting back on my feet wasn't easy. I won't sugarcoat it. Dividing our assets and adjusting to a new financial situation took some time and effort. I had grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle, but hey, I'm no stranger to hard work. I rolled up my sleeves and embraced the challenge of rebuilding my life as a single woman. I discovered newfound strength and independence within myself. I started reconnecting with old friends, pursuing hobbies that had long been neglected, and exploring new passions. The world was my oyster, and I was determined to savor every moment of this newfound freedom. Sure, there were moments of doubt and loneliness, and still adjusting to this new financial situation was certainly challenging. The scars of a failed marriage don't vanish overnight. But with each passing day, I found solace in knowing that I was no longer compromising my own happiness for the sake of someone else's insecurities. My ability to move on so quickly was probably an indication that I'd been beating a dead horse for a while now. I was so surprised at how much I could accomplish without that dead weight on my shoulders. So there I was, another month later, still adjusting but thriving nonetheless. And Rob was still bombarding me with messages. Except this time it was a bit different. He'd gone the full-blown cry me a river route, claiming he was in danger and desperately needed to meet with me. I was getting tired of him contacting me, and I wanted to put this issue to rest once and for all. So I called in the middle of one of his text rants and said, "Rob, I told you, I don't want to hear it. We're divorced, remember? It's time for us, you, to move on. Serena, please, just give me a chance to explain. I'm in serious trouble and I didn't know who else to call. I need your help." Maybe it was the fact that I hadn't heard his voice in so long, or perhaps he genuinely sounded terrified, but I relented. "Fine, but I'm not inviting you into my home. Let's meet at the cafe we used to go to. I don't want any funny business." "Thank you, Serena. I promise. I just need a listening ear. I'm desperate, and you're the only one who truly knows me." I know, my friends. You're probably thinking, "Serena, what on earth possessed you to meet up with Rob after all you've been through?" Believe me, I ask myself the same question, but sometimes even the strongest of us have moments of weakness, and I let curiosity and the lingering flicker of care get the best of me. Who was I kidding? I couldn't resist his desperate plea for help. Just because we were divorced didn't mean that I didn't care about him. So there we were, sitting across from each other in that cozy little cafe. The air was filled with intoxicating scent of freshly brewed coffee, but even that couldn't mask the palpable tension in the room. It was like stepping into a war zone of emotions. I couldn't help but observe Rob's face as he sat there, anxiety riddling with his features. It was almost comical how he tried to convey his distress through those puppy dog eyes, but I wasn't falling for it. Not this time. I leaned back in my chair trying to exude a sense of control. I was determined to keep this conversation on my terms. "All right, Rob, you've got my attention. What's this danger you've managed to stumble into? And let me be clear, I'm not interested in being your savior anymore. I've had my fair share of cleaning up your messes." Rob let out a heavy sigh, his face a blend of regret and desperation. It was almost pitiful to witness, but I reminded myself not to be swayed by his theatrics. "I know I've messed up in the past, Serena, but this time it's different. I've gotten myself tangled up with some really dangerous people. I owe them a substantial amount of money, and they're not exactly the forgiving type." I raised an eyebrow, not fully buying into his tale of woe. "Dangerous people? Really, Rob? Are we talking about those imaginary friends of yours again? You always had a knack for attracting trouble, didn't you?" Rob's eyes widened. A mixture of hurt and frustration flashed across his face. It was clear that he expected a different response from me, but after everything we had been through, I had grown tired of being the one who constantly tried to fix him. "No, Serena, I'm not making this up. You think I wanted this? Me coming to you with my tail between my legs asking for help? Okay, let me guess. You took the divorce hard and you needed money." "Not necessarily. Remember the trip I told you about?" "Oh God, don't tell me you borrowed money to fund a trip." People around the cafe looked at me as I raised my voice. I sent over an apologetic stare, trying to compose myself. "Look, Serena, I got involved in something I shouldn't have. I know that now, and now I'm paying the price. I need your help to figure a way out of this mess." My frustration started to bubble up, ready to boil over. How could he come back into my life with yet another disaster of his own making? But beneath my anger, a sliver of compassion lingered, reminding me that he was still human, even if he was deeply flawed. "How much do you owe?" "50." $50,000? Rob, are you crazy?" The cafe threw daggers at me, but this time I didn't bother apologizing. If they heard what I was hearing, they'd shout too. Serena, please, I'm desperate and I've nowhere else to turn. I know I messed up, but I still care about you. You were the one who truly believed in me. I could see the sincerity in his eyes, a glimmer of the man I once fell in love with, but it was too little, too late. I had to protect myself, even if it meant turning my back on him. Oh, don't do that, Rob. Don't try and reel me in. It's too late for that now. I thought you were going to say something like $5,000. Hell, I might have even been gracious and allowed 10 grand. But 50? $50,000? You must have lost your mind. Rob began to sob, crying loudly and not caring about the other patrons. He was making a fool of himself. Rob, this is not the time or the place. Logistically, what's going to happen if you don't pay them back? They'll break my legs, Serena. Jesus, that sounds serious. This isn't funny, Serena. I'm in serious trouble. I know, Rob, I know. Why don't you explain everything from the beginning this time? Rob poured out his tale of woe, confessing how he had obtained the money to fund his parents' extravagant trip. He explained that a friend had promised to lend him the funds, but that friend had let him down, leaving him trapped in this huge-ass debt. As he revealed the details, a mix of frustration and amusement filled me. I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh, recognizing the twisted web Rob had woven for himself. So, let me get this straight. You took money from these dangerous people to please your parents, who haven't even bothered to thank you or show any appreciation for the lavish trip you funded? Is that what you're telling me? Rob's expression grew sullen, tears streaming down his face, the weight of his actions finally sinking in. He shook his head, his voice laden with regret. It's true, Serena. My parents haven't even reached out to me since they embarked on their grand adventure. It's like I'm invisible to them. I couldn't help but feel bad for the guy. What a predicament, am I right? It was almost poetic justice witnessing Rob come face to face with the reality of his choices. But I couldn't gloat, not with this man silently sobbing in front of me. I know you don't want to hear this right now, but you did this to yourself, Rob. I told you that it wasn't wise. And what's worse, you divorced me over it. And now here you are, not knowing what to do. You chased their approval, poured your life savings into fulfilling their desires, and they haven't even bothered to acknowledge your sacrifice. As much as it hurts, this is a hard lesson you needed to learn. It was a bitter pill for both of us to swallow. Rob had placed his self-worth in the hands of those who were incapable of appreciating his efforts. And I had to come to terms with the fact that I couldn't save him from his missteps any longer. I was hoping that now, with his legs in danger, he would understand that I was always on his side, and that his reducing himself to just a puppet that pleased his parents led to his downfall in the end. As the reality of the situation settled upon us, silence enveloped the cafe. The weight of our shared history, of all the broken promises and shattered dreams, hung heavy in the air. At that moment, I knew it was time to walk away for good. No more second chances, no more futile attempts to mend what was irreparably broken. Rob had to face the consequences of his actions, and I had to find my own path towards happiness. I hope you find a way out of this mess, Rob. What? You're not going to help me? What the heck? No, Rob, I'm not going to help you. Why not? I don't have the funds for it. Can't you get a loan? A loan that I'd have to spend the rest of my life paying back? No, thanks. I'm not as reckless as you are. Come on, Serena, please, I'm begging you. Huh? With the way that you're acting, it's almost as if you expected me to help you. Yeah, I did. You're my ex-wife, not my mortal enemy. And you see, that's the problem right there. You think that I'm always going to be here. And that's because I always was. I was your wife. Rob, of course I was going to dig you out of your messes, but I can't keep doing that. It's not my job or responsibility. I don't owe you anything. And honestly, after all the crap you put me through, squandering our expenses for your ungrateful and toxic parents, it's because I love them, Serena, you know that. And I love myself. And so I have to do what's best for myself. And that includes protecting myself, Rob. He hung his head, finally admitting defeat and realizing that if he was going to get help, it wasn't going to come from me. Because it's free, I'm going to give you some advice. Leave the country. Pack up your life and move somewhere where they can't find you. And if you can't do that, then I don't know how else to help you. Rob just sat in silence, almost pouting like he was irritated at my refusal to help him. It's time for us to part ways. I can't keep getting caught in the storm of your life. We both deserve a chance at finding our peace. I wish you well, Rob. I mean it. If you wished me well, you'd help me out. Goodbye, Rob. I'm getting a new number. With those words, I rose from my seat, leaving Rob sitting there, his face a mosaic of emotions. It was a painful yet necessary step towards reclaiming my happiness, my sense of self.